In 1963, a man in central Turkey was renovating his home when he knocked through a wall in his basement. Behind it was a dark passage he'd never seen. He followed it, and it kept going, down and down into the rock. What he'd stumbled into wasn't a cellar or a cave, it was a city. An entire city carved straight down into the earth, deep enough to swallow an 18-story building. Room after room. Tunnels branching off tunnels, stables, kitchens, chapels, wells, space enough for 20,000 people to live down there, hidden, for months at a time. And the strangest part, the town above had no idea it was there. People had been walking over the roofs of this place for centuries. This is Derinkuyu, and it leaves behind one simple question: who builds a city underground, and what were they so afraid of up here? To understand Derinkuyu, you have to find it first. Picture the middle of Turkey, far from any coast, on a high, dry plateau called Cappadocia. This is the heart of Anatolia, the land bridge between Europe and Asia that armies have crossed for thousands of years. The town of Derinkuyu sits here, quiet and ordinary, surrounded by farmland. Above ground, there's almost nothing to see. A few streets, some houses, a wide open sky. But Cappadocia hides a secret in its soil. The whole region is riddled with hollowed-out rock. Homes, churches, and tunnels cut straight into the stone. And beneath this one small town lies the deepest of them all. Its name says it plainly. In Turkish, Derinkuyu means deep well. They weren't exaggerating. So why here? Why could people carve a city out of the ground in this exact spot? The answer is written all over the landscape. Millions of years ago, volcanoes nearby erupted again and again, burying the region in thick layers of ash. Over time, that ash hardened into a soft, pale rock called tuff. And tuff has a remarkable trick to it. Underground, it's soft enough to carve with simple hand tools, almost like firm cheese. But once it meets the air, it slowly hardens into a sturdy shell. Wind and water sculpted the surface into surreal stone towers, the famous fairy chimneys that draw travelers today. People looked at that same soft rock and saw something else. Not a view, a door. If the stone was this easy to dig, then the ground itself could become a home, or a hiding place. From the surface, Derinkuyu gives almost nothing away. A few stone openings, easy to miss. But step inside, and the scale is staggering. The city drops through at least 18 levels, reaching around 85 meters into the earth. Deep enough to bury a 20-story tower. The top floors were for daily life and livestock, stables for the animals so they wouldn't have to be left above. Below them, kitchens with soot still darkening the ceilings, storage rooms for grain, jars for oil and wine. Deeper still, chapels, a school and space to sleep. Threaded through all of it, more than 50 narrow ventilation shafts pulled fresh air down to the lowest rooms, and doubled as wells for clean water. Everything a population needed to vanish from the world above and keep breathing while they waited. Building this was slow, patient, brutal work. No machines, just hand tools, baskets, oil lamps, and time. Generations of it. Workers cut into the tuff one chamber at a time, hauling the rubble up to the surface basket by basket. They had to read the rock by feel, leaving thick pillars and ceilings so the levels above wouldn't collapse onto the people below. And they had to think about air. Without those ventilation shafts, fires and lamps would have turned the lower floors deadly within hours. Whoever planned Derinkuyu understood that perfectly. The deepest rooms sit at the bottom of long vertical chimneys that draw air down on their own, holding the temperature steady all year. Cool in summer, warm in winter. This wasn't a hole dug in a panic. It was engineering done in the dark by people who expected to come back and dig deeper. Walking through it today, the first thing that hits you is how tight it is. The tunnels are low and narrow, forcing you to bend and move in single file. That was on purpose. A passage you have to crouch through is a passage an enemy can't rush. The layout is a maze, twisting corridors, dead ends, sudden drops, and steep shafts linking one level to the next. To anyone who didn't grow up here, it would be terrifying to navigate in the dark. To the people who built it, every turn was familiar. They could move through the blackness by memory, while anyone chasing them would be lost within minutes. So the city wasn't only a shelter. It was designed from the first chamber to the last to be defended, and then there are the doors. At key points in the tunnels sit huge round stones, shaped like millstones, some over a meter across, weighing hundreds of kilograms. When danger came, the people inside could roll one across a passage and seal it shut. Here's the clever part. The doors could only be moved from the inside. A small hole through the center let defenders watch the tunnel beyond or push a spear through it, while the attacker had nothing to grip and no way to shift the stone. Each level could be closed off on its own. So even if raiders forced one door, they met another and another deeper down. Floor by floor, Derinkuyu could swallow its people and lock the world out behind them. It turned a city into a vault that sealed from within. So who built it and when? That's where Derinkuyu gets murky. There are no blueprints, no founding date carved in the wall. Some researchers trace the first tunnels to the Phrygians, an Anatolian people who lived here nearly 3,000 years ago and were skilled at cutting into rock. Others think parts may be older still. What's clear is that the city grew over a very long time, expanded by wave after wave of people who needed it. The plateau changed hands constantly. Persians, Greeks, Romans, and Byzantines all passed through. Each era added more rooms, more depth, more doors. Derinkuyu isn't the work of one ruler or one year. It's the layered effort of many generations, all answering the same quiet, urgent need, a safe place to disappear. Because the danger up here was real and it kept coming back. For early Christians, these tunnels were a refuge from Roman persecution, a place to worship and survive out of sight. Later, when Arab armies swept across Anatolia in centuries of raids, whole communities dropped underground and waited for the riders to pass. Picture it. The doors rolled shut above you, thousands of people in lamplight, keeping the animals quiet, rationing food and water, listening to muffled sounds drifting down from a world they couldn't see. Days like that, sometimes weeks, children who knew the tunnels better than the fields above. Derinkuyu wasn't built for comfort or for show. It was built for the worst days a community could imagine. And it was used again and again, exactly when those days came. People relied on this place for an astonishingly long time. Cappadocian Greeks were still sheltering in the tunnels from persecution as late as the early 20th century, right up until they were forced to leave Turkey in 1923. After that, the doors went quiet. The city emptied, the openings were forgotten, and the town above simply went on living over it, until that basement wall came down in 1963. Today you can walk the upper levels, but much of Derinkuyu is still sealed off, and tunnels are thought to connect it to other underground cities miles away. We still don't know exactly how old it is, or how deep it truly goes. What we do know is this. When the world above became too dangerous, the people here didn't run. They went down, sealed the door, and waited for it to pass.